Okay. Calling to order the meeting of the Oxford DDA for October 16th, 2023. Please rise for the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge
allegiance
To the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call.
Johnston, no. Scholes,
here.
Charles, no. Powers,
Here.
Golden, here. Carey,
Here.
Clark, no. Knaus, no. Cook.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right. Agenda item number 4, public comment on non-agenda items. Do we have any public comment? Okay. Consent agenda, approval of the proposed agenda.
I make a motion to approve the, I make a motion to approve the consent agenda and amend the proposed agenda with 9F row professional services.
Yes.
9.
Support.
Okay, any comment? All right, consent agenda item 5C, police report and code enforcement report.
Make a motion to receive and file the police report and the code enforcement report.
I second.
Do we, all in favor? Yeah, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Was that for A and B, C and D?
That was for 5C and D. Oh, but yeah, we didn't, you're right, so it'd be all 4. Still all 8s? Or ayes? All right, the financials, financial statement and revenue expenditures reports and the bills.
I'll make a motion to receive and file the financial statement, revenue expenditure reports, and paying of the bills in the amount of $15,955.87.
And roll call, please.
Second.
Oh, yeah.
Cook,
Yes.
Carey,
Yes.
Scholes,
Yes.
Powers,
Yes,
Golden, yes. And that's it.
okay. Approved. All right, DDA report, executive director.
So much faster with only 5 of you.
I know.
I'm like, oh, we're gonna get out of here for UP today. So Scarecrow Fest was amazing. Probably the largest one to date. Everybody that I talked with was very happy. The businesses were very happy. We had a recap meeting in our promo committee, which was nice just to download and see things that we would change for next year. We worked a lot on the TIF this month, and I don't want to steal all this thunder because we're going to talk about it anyways. I went through a couple of Main Street Oakland County trainings and managers meetings. Signed a couple additional businesses up for the gift card, knowing that we're coming up on Q4. Worked with some of the business owners who were looking to change places or met some of the new businesses that had just come to town and set up meetings with us, which was nice. We are in the home stretch of the downtown map that will be so wonderful to have. We're just gonna redo the headings just to make it easier for people to find, blow it up a little bit bigger, and then we'll have it to go everywhere in Oakland County and beyond. We had some additional Charlie items that we'll talk about in the committee. Let's see. A lot of working with engineers in the village on capital improvement projects, which we'll discuss tonight. Already started planning soup and sweets roll, finished planning witches night. We worked on all the fall decor downtown. I had Q3 stats that were due to Oakland County, and then my PA 57 report was also due. So a lot of paperwork, governmental work, but things that are necessary have to be done. But overall, great, busy month. Keep on rolling.
Do we have any idea of the attendance at the Scarecrow Festival? I know it's hard to gauge.
We were thinking about 2,400 when we estimated, which I think is about 600 additional over last year.
Yeah.
The weather really helped us out, and then spreading it out throughout was just amazing because it never felt too crammed and too packed, and that's something that the feedback that we got from families that were out there.
Okay, great. Work committee? for, unless there's any questions.
Board committee, Rod and I and Brad met with Kelly. Dorothy was absent. Main gist of the entire meeting was that Mario from McKenna Associates came in to go over the TIF plan with us, as far as sort of start organizing it, getting dates set and everything. Realistically, it is kind of on a tight schedule, so things have to happen here pretty quickly. So we'll be talking about that farther down in the agenda. And we did get an update on the northeast parking lot as far as finalizing, and again, that'll be on the agenda a little bit farther down. And some status on the southeast as far as the bid going out, getting ready to go, and we did make a recommendation on the bid part of it to go to the council, and the council voted on it last week to approve awarding the contract, so moving forward.
Great. Any questions? EV committee?
Yes. So I was unfortunately unable to attend the meeting, so I was out of town for work. But Marie, could you give a
Yeah, we talked a lot about the potential housing developments that are going to be coming into town. I know that CJ has a report that he did that was excellent, gave us some data behind the numbers, and we talked about him presenting that at some future
Yep,
point,
and he
right?
was gonna come tonight, but with multiple people missing, I just felt like next meeting would be better. It was really, really just such great information, and his mind, the way it works, is just, it's so brilliant. So I'm excited for him to present next meeting.
And we talked a little bit about the TIF plan and the update, which I guess we'll be covering at a later point anyway. We have, as I think someone mentioned, we have 9 people within our district that want to be on subcommittees, so that's great. And we talked quite a bit about marketing strategies and who our target audience is, and of course the families are always very important and top of mind, but we also mentioned that it would be nice to have some events or some focusing on some of the other generations, like the empty nesters and early retirees. So we have some thoughts around that, maybe at the end of the fourth quarter, hopefully. And talked a little bit about remote workers, maybe trying to draw them in a little bit more. At this point, the committee felt there wasn't a huge number of that pool of people, but as things change in our community with, hospitals and so forth, we may get into needing a little bit more action during the middle of the day as far as the lunch crowd and so forth. And that was, I think, pretty much it. We did talk about businesses that we're trying to encourage moving into Oxford, and also creating some, I think it was CJ that had the suggestion to create some social groups surrounding various activities like cornhole and trivia, euchre, that kind of things, walking club, dog walking clubs, those types of things. So we're going to look into that, and just a little bit more about our target demographic and trying to encourage businesses that come in to meet the demand that's here, so.
Yeah, I think the only other thing on that was just really advocating for trying to figure out, okay, we've done a great job, we've now started to create this walkability through the district, but a pain point is still people speeding through the downtown and the gravel trucks and how fast people are going. So I know that it's not something that usually happens with an MDOT road, but trying to figure out, is it possible for us to get the mileage down to 25 miles per hour? If it's not, is it possible to add additional stoplights? What else can we do to try to slow that traffic? Because we all know if it's posted for 25, people are going 35. And they really are. It's hard, and it's something that we are gonna have to deal with, and the gravel trucks are always gonna be there, but what can we do in the meantime?
Okay, that was it. Promo committee?
I think
think I'll take this one because Leanne's not here and Bryce isn't here. So we did the Scarecrow Fest recap, as I mentioned. Put the final touches on Witches Night. You know, for us, that's not a lot of planning. That's a lot on the businesses, which bravo to them because everybody has such wonderful things planned. And knock on wood, but the rain is supposed to stop at 3 o'clock on Friday. So hopefully it's beautiful, but Kimberly and I will be welcoming people, handing out maps, handing out bags down in the White House District. One thing we did change this year is, you know, the White House District is really trying to be a part of our downtown. So they had the idea, working with Simple Organics now, Wild and Rooted, that we would have the vendor market down there and add an additional trolley stop, and that would be a way to start, and then for people to filter into downtown Oxford and Lake Orion from there. So that's our plan. We'll see how it goes. You know, that helps us because we wanted to hire a DJ for the park, and so we thought, okay, well, where's that money coming from? Well, from the vendors. So it was nice to be able to have a smaller vendor market, just like 15 vendors, and then be able to fund the rest of the night from there. So we're looking forward to it, and it's definitely the marketing that we're putting on Facebook and out there to the different media sources. We're seeing like a 4 times higher than last year. People were clicking and interested. So just on the one event alone on the DDA page, we have 4,500 people that have clicked interested, which is, you know, 4 times higher than we did last year. So I think that it's part of, you know, promoting early, having the dates on. We did switch it to a Friday night this year. And originally it was not supposed to be a home game for Oxford. And they switched that. They were supposed to play on Saturday at Ford Field. So that was the bummer. But the reason why we didn't target the Saturday is it's the Michigan State game. So, you know, we are trying to be conscious of, you know, what else is going on and how do we kind of steer away from those to make sure we have the biggest crowd that we can. Soup and Sweet ticket launch. We'll be launching earlier this year. We've been getting so many people who have been asking to buy tickets already. So we're gonna try to put it on there starting the week after Witches Night. And then part of that then would be the different events that we're gonna do with the trolley, whether it's date night or if it's the Polar Express for the kids that we're talking about doing, and have those as ticketed events to pay for all of the events that we want to do, pay for the trolley drivers. That way we're not digging into our budget to do any of this. And then we came up with the Christmas tree idea, and we also talked about it into design. So Catherine, should we just address it in design?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. All right, but it was wonderful, great meeting. We also talked about Small Biz Saturday. We've already started promoting for that, so overall great meeting.
Thank you. Design committee?
Okay. We already talked Simple Organics is rebranding to Wild and Rooted, so we discussed sign brands that we'll vote on in new business, but they're just replacing their current signs with their new branding. Then we talked about the Christmas trees. We mentioned since Scarecrow Festival and creating the scarecrows was such a huge success, Kelly came up, or I guess promo committee came up with the idea to do kind of the same thing with 4-foot Christmas trees and have the businesses get 4-foot Christmas trees and decorate them according to their favorite Christmas song. Now, I personally talked to a couple of business owners. Jamie over at Sullivan's is so thrilled with this idea. She's looking forward to it so much. So I mean, I think there's a really great response. And we'll do this, we can do this as part of the lighting, the holiday lighting proposal that we're gonna do. And we'll also discuss that, the other lighting that Excel Brothers Cleaning has given us a quote so that we can review that in new business. The poles lighting, we can't do colors because MDOT won't let us, so, which we thought might be the case. But Kelly tried. We have to give her, she tried.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we can't do that, so we have to remain the soft white colors on the poles. So, yeah.
It'll be the like soft yellowish white.
The soft,
last year, though?
yeah.
That we did last year, the
Yeah.
soft white, and then we're gonna do larger red bows that Excel purchased from their manufacturer this year, so I think those will make more of a statement. And then, but we did add red to the Christmas tree in the park to try to bring in some color where we could. And then DPW will do the streets and behind the businesses like they have in the past.
What else? Oh, we have the zoning issue with the shed location, so I'm not sure, do we have any resolution with that?
I don't know. Are you gonna let us keep it there for Santa?
Well, I reached out to Mario today and explained to him, I was looking at the ordinance about accessory structures, and it's really not a subordinate structure to a primary structure, because there isn't a primary structure, so I'm trying to find a way for it to stay.
Okay, so we're working on keeping the shed for Santa.
Who found that violation?
Well, someone down in the White Courts talked to their landlord, talks to me.
Gotcha.
Wonder
Just curious,
why we
who's our
can do
code
it.
enforcement
Wonder why we can do it,
officer?
but they can't. Same
No,
thing
he
with-
likes us.
Same thing with streetlights, is another, the stream lights is another issue that are prohibited in a lot of areas. Certain circumstances they can, and certain circumstances they can't. So I was putting together an email today to the planning commission guys, I sent one to Mario today about that shed. My review of it, I think we're okay with the shed thing there.
Got to keep Santa warm, you know?
That's right.
What else? What else do we have? We're paving the parking lot, alley, which should be completed by November 15th, so finally we're at least getting some of these things paved, which is great. Talked about Scarecrow Fest already. The awning has been installed on the Boulevard Boutique, so that was nice, it's back door awning. The lighting to be done in time for Witches Night, the parapet lighting, so we're gonna see how that looks, hopefully. And hopefully it looks nice enough, we'll get it everywhere. Where is it right now?
On the four corners.
4 Corners.
And they, Les Thomas was installing a box for his building, which is Modern Marketplace right there. So we're hoping that Witches Night is the first night that they're all turned on, the four corners. That's what we're trying to do. So I'm working with Excel and then Les to try to make that happen by Friday night.
Yes, and Shop Small Saturday is coming up, so everyone shop Small Saturday. And I think that was it. Anything I missed?
No, I think that was it. I think the biggest thing on the Christmas trees, and you're right, people are so excited. We already have 28 businesses that have confirmed. Friday night, I pushed 34 Christmas trees on my cart, and I'm really excited for those to deliver, just saying. But I was gonna, they were on sale, that's why I did it Friday. But I was gonna say that I cannot believe the amount of people that voted once we got down to those 2 final scarecrows. So just on the up scarecrow was over 1,500 people that went to the post to vote. So people got really into it, so I think that's really cool. So the thought is for everybody to keep their Christmas trees inside their windows until Soup and Sweet, and then they'll place them outside so people can take pictures, and I think it's gonna be a lot of fun, so.
Yes.
And just a question on the Soup and Sweet, are we going to limit, we'll have to limit the number of tickets that we sell then?
Yeah, so if we can find an additional restaurant, I would love to up the amount of tickets that we could do. So there's 2 that didn't participate last year, so I would love for them to do it this year so that we could sell more. The thought process in promo committee was to do the same amount of gallons of soup for each restaurant, same check back to the restaurants that we did last year, but have a certain amount of tickets to sell on site this year, because we really, people were very upset when they came to purchase last year on site and they couldn't. So we also put more additional advertisements in the paper that I've already slotted with not just Oxford, but some in areas that we don't usually do. We placed in Brandon, Clarkston, I think Lapeer this year. So we're hoping to sell and know how many before. I think we'll cut it off at that same 1,500, but then we'll hold 200 aside this year to do on site, so that we had about that many come up to us last year and we couldn't sell them and they were already there, and I know they were disappointed. So I think this is a good way to do it this year. So we learned.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, agenda item 8, unfinished and old business, 8A, the northeast parking lot update. Is that you, Kelly?
Yeah, so, and Joe can always, come up here. But we finally, we had a little bit of trouble, and Pete was in on all these conversations, but we just had change orders that were quite a bit, because they found out that there were problems with the parking lot that they could not have known. But Roe worked through it with BSI and got it down to a manageable amount. So all in all, our bill came in today for $280,000, which was only $5,000 above what we had budgeted this past year. So we ended up in a really good spot. It looks great, it's beautiful, it's well done. Do you want to add?
Yeah, I just want to fill in some of the finer points of that because it'll tie into our 9F or 8F, whichever one that is, 7. The new one I put in front of you for the southeast parking lot area. So the original contract price was $247. We ended up with $52,000 in extras. A lot of that change order was the underground parking slab and then terrible soils below the parking slab on the east side of the real estate building, Key Realty or whatever it is, in Chandler. Again, we took core samples out in the parking lot. Of course, we did core everywhere. A cistern was discovered just outside Gravel Capital, and it wasn't out far enough in the parking lot that we could have just dug it out and removed it. We had to go on flow fill it because it was partially under the brand new curb and stuff we just did. So those things come up. But we're still only $5,000 over budget, even though we had $52,000 in extras, because the original contract was gonna come in less. And that's because when we get those prices, yeah, it says 247, but it's based on quantities in bid. You know, if it's 1,000 yards of concrete or 1,000 yards of asphalt, that's great, but when reality comes and we have somebody on site, they check the weight tickets and they check the asphalt tickets and they only use 800 yards of asphalt, well then we pay less. So having that person on site, having Matt, I think was his name from Rowe, young guy, very sharp though. He knew exactly what to do when they ran across all the buried concrete and then the soils below it. He made the right calls. It kept the project on schedule, which is important for the event coming up that weekend.
Yep.
So although we don't like to always have to pay for some of those services and costs, it really helped us a lot this time. And not only that, when the initial change orders were coming in, the first one was pretty easy, just removing the buried concrete that was below the asphalt there in that parking lot. But then when you get a price from the contractor, here's what it is, oh, that was this, and here's a price, and that seemed reasonable. Then there was a whole other price for digging out 1.5 feet and putting in a large oversized aggregate over top of a fabric liner in the bottom to give it a base to sit on, and then smooth, smaller aggregate on top of that, and compacting and hauling away all this other stuff. When that initially came in, it was like 60 grand.
$64,000.
Well, Roe from Paul, he's like, those numbers don't look right. He was digging around, he's comparing it to MDOT numbers and things like that, and unit quantities and stuff. So his technical experience, going through all this stuff, got it down to like 24,000. So those are just things that we can't do. And we weren't just stuck with, well, whatever you charge us, that's not the position we were in because we had the professionals on site, not only on site, but back in the office, checking those numbers for us. So that's why the project with $52,000 in change orders is only $5,000 over budget. So that'll lead into our next conversation then about the other parking lots, where we're at on that one too, the other placemaking area. But all in all, they did a good job, great job. Schedule-wise, I think it did great.
It
They
was
actually came
great.
back on, when I was talking to them Thursday, the asphalt company stopped and wanted to close before they wouldn't get them let the last 2 loads I think they needed to finish down by Edison Alley.
They came back on Saturday and did it.
And I was talking to them Thursday, we were out there like 5:30 Thursday, and they were talking, and they were like, we have to come back on Monday, whatever, because they were thinking that your event was Saturday. And when I mentioned something about, well, we're doing it on Sunday now, and they're like, oh, light bulb moment. They actually brought the papers back from Midland on Friday and Saturday, showed up, did it Saturday, and completed it before the event on Sunday, because just the way it worked out. Had your event been on Saturday, that wouldn't have been able to work. But it worked out, and it was all because the asphalt plant wasn't willing to let them come back and stay open late specifically for them, those last couple of loads that one evening. But they have to go home at night too, I suppose.
I suppose.
I suppose.
You can just hang out. We're about to talk about Bethel.
Oh, yeah, okay, all right.
8 feet, wow.
Well, so it's good updates, actually. Council's been doing such a great job making sure that he stays on track, and the parking lot's looking good. The village was so wonderful and had Roe go out and check it and realize that they needed some additional millings, is
Yeah,
that right? I'm
yeah.
learning, okay.
Yeah, because, you have to have the proper aggregate base, right? There was a sand base and need aggregate base to get the base asphalt coat down. And it's technically, right now, it's technically private property that a private individual is paving a lot. Well, then it's gonna convert to village-owned property, so it's our interest to be sure it's built properly. And so I've mentioned this to Mr. Wackel a couple months ago, I've got Roe involved, there's gonna have to be some kind of verifications, some inspections at some degree. It did work out pretty well that while Matt, the young guy over at the parking lot project, he would walk over and check on that one as well, because it would happen to be going on at the same time, when they're doing all the curb work over there. So that went really well, we didn't pay any extra cost for that. He was here already on site, he would walk over there a couple of times, every now and then, check on them, so that worked out well. The contractor that he hired in came in really quick, very efficient, did a good job. That is all complete. They actually did a little bit, you see the steps on the front, the north side of 32 East, and then they did the sidewalk on the south side of 32 East as well, so that concrete is all done.
The windows arrived.
Oh, yeah.
So they'll be going in for the 3rd floor, and then he also brought in what type of light fixtures for the parking lot. He was just to run them by us, which I thought was really good, so.
And so
Progress.
after they did the initial laying out and spreading and rolling, compacting rolling of the asphalt millings for the sub base, I went over there last week and we had Roe, I wanted to come outside and verify two things, the depth, proper depth of aggregate and the compaction. You know, they have a little, if you've been to my construction sites, the monitor, they put, it's a nuclear base somehow, I don't know how it works, but they set it on there. And it can calculate the density and compaction of whatever it's sitting on, concrete or aggregate, asphalt, things like that. So that was last Thursday, I think it was, I just happened to go over that, and the Roe was there, we checked around, they checked a couple spots. And when they dug down through, I mean, it was almost like a pavement, it was so compacted well. I mean, the asphalt lines really compact well. But it was too light. It was 4 inches in some areas, 6 inches in another area, 5 inches in another area, and they need 8. So he didn't even go through the compaction testing because they're gonna have to come back and put another layer of it on. So today I would go by, and there was new aggregate millings laid out, and the plan initially was to pave towards the end of this week. So if they get that all spread out and compacted, then we get the proper density testing, then they can move forward with the base coat paving.
The important part is it's moving forward.
Yes, yes, so, lighting wise, we're not exactly sure how the connections and everything will work, and when DT can get that part squared away with it, but the parking lot will be usable soon. As long as it gets, even if it was just a base coat again, I mean, it's usable for, residential vehicles and things like that. The intent in the plan, and I think that's what's gonna happen, is the top coat and everything will be done. So at that point, it'll be over. And then there'll be, of course, landscaping and lighting. Landscaping may not even happen until next spring, because that's the least of our worries right now, it's the concrete, the asphalt, and the lighting, so.
Yep.
That's it.
You know, you're allowed to say.
I'm not in the tip.
You're excused. All right, 8C, the TIF plan?
Yeah, so it's, I think the biggest thing to note is just that we needed to put together a 9% resident committee. Those 9 people have to live within the GDA district. And so between myself and Grace, thank you so much, we were able to find our 9. And so the first step for us to do is to send those 9 to village council, have them approve it, have the meeting with those 9, review a plan, and then we will go over a draft of the plan at our next meeting next month and pass it directly on to village council to do their first reading of the plan. So it is quick, but honestly, I think it just makes us be more efficient and get things done. Mario had some great ideas. He sat with us, walked the work committee through it, so I feel like we're in a really good place. Oh, Joe.
Just because financial wise, that's of course what drives you guys. To some degree, you gotta know what money you have. I know there's talk of the TIF plan of perhaps an entity not being involved in the tax capture next go around. And perhaps that's about $30,000 in lost TIF.
32.
Okay. But the flip side of that coin is all the new development, any new development in the district then gets captured, right? So the 32 East building that Mr. Wackel's building, every bit of that was, a vacant lot for many years, and now all that new additional taxable value on there is captured. Any new buildings that get built on that, the new car wash at the south end of town is new. Now, I don't know if it reverted back, dropped down to the vacant lot valuation. I'm not sure what time frame it was, because 12/31 of each year is your tax date, and that's what the assessors and equalization uses what is this property as of tax day. So I don't know if it went all the way down to the full base, but not, but still, there's a lot of additional value on that parcel right there regardless. That will be captured by PDA. So although you might lose a little in some sense, you're gaining on other things too. And then we've been told that the old Hampton Block property is under contract, and hopefully that moves forward, and then that can be developed. We met with the developer who was trying to work with that and the parcels next to it behind the post office, looking to develop some things there as well. So there's other developments that will come on, that'll be in the capture area, that will help provide some additional funding, whether you lose some or not.
Great, thank you. Okay, 9A, grant approvals. We have a grant proposal for Wild and Rooted.
Yeah, so this is for Simple Organics down in the White House District. And this is just replacing her current signs that are there. So same sizes, just with her new branding. They are going to install themselves. So the 50% would be not to exceed $700 total.
Can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the summer grant for Wild and Rooted for an amount not to exceed $700.
Support?
Roll call.
Schultz,
Yes.
Colvin, yes. Powers,
Yes.
Cook,
Yes.
Carrie.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, holiday lighting. Is that you, Kelly?
Yes, so I brought this to you again this year. You know, this is already approved in the budget. We talk about lighting in our budget and approve it, but it's a large amount, so I just wanted to bring it before you. The only change would be on here, we wanted to just make a note that the Christmas 5-foot sparkler snowflakes for that 640 that you see, which is on page 2, that would not be a part of it. We wanted to do the Christmas tree project this year, so we made that switch in order not to exceed our budget. So, let's see if I can do the math. I guess I should have done it for you prior, so I'm sorry, but let me just take the 640 off of that and see what that amount is. So this is included with all of the poles on M24, the lighting of the Christmas tree, and they do such a great job, all of the bows, and then removing everything. And they also make sure that DPW has all the lights that they need for the side streets and for behind the building. So if any of theirs aren't working, they have like their buyback program. So the total is $8,487.
I'll make a motion to approve the bid amount from Excel Cleaning Brothers for holiday lighting, the amount of $8,487.
And roll call, please.
Cook,
Yes.
Carrie.
Yes.
Colvin, yes. Powers.
Yes.
Schultz.
Yes.
Okay, next item is the mural on Creative Embroidery Building.
Yeah, so I thought, what better way to pitch this to you than have the muralist here, right?
Absolutely.
So, Nick, if you do want to say anything, please feel free. So you have a photo, and this is just a mock-up of what we're kind of thinking, but I wanted to walk you through this. So there are currently 4 windows that are boarded up on that building right now. This is part of the T-Mobile grant that we received. This was always in the proposal when we applied for the T-Mobile grant. We didn't necessarily know what we wanted to be on this building, so we went to Vicky and to Modern Marketplace, since that's in their back area, and then to Ashley at Creative Embroidery, and thought, you know, instead of having something with a lot of photos, since we have one on the other side, we're gonna make this part of, you know, that courtyard feel, which we're trying to create back there. So this is what Nick came up with, and part of this is he's going to do window boxes underneath the windows here, and then frame them with handmade shutters. And then Vicky and then Modern Marketplace Kathy were talking about some of the green ivy that they've created to go on this wall. So I think it's gonna be everybody kind of pitching in, but it'll be really beautiful. And we had to get him here. So he's here to paint, this week, once you guys approve this, so no pressure. But it's $4,061 is the amount, and again, that's all part of our T-Mobile grant. Is there anything you want to say, Nick, about this?
I'm just ready for you to approve so I can paint.
A question, it looks like the windows are going to remain boarded up, right? So you're just gonna be.
What I'm
painting the
gonna
windows.
do for the windows, so that way there's a little bit more of a direction on them. I'm gonna build out box frames and use plexiglass,
Oh, okay.
so that way it's frosted on
The
the
reflection.
exterior.
Yeah.
And what I'll do in those window inserts is paint them like a pale blue, so they still give like a blue sky presence. So from the visual aspect, you look at and you'll see like a blue sky behind them, but it allows this integrity of the building to still remain sealed because there's no moisture coming through at the point. And so we'll make sure that we keep all that intact, so that way the wall and the window units can be removed depending on what circumstance needs to be for long-term projects.
Great. It's nice.
I'll make a motion to approve the mural painting on the creative embroidery building for an amount of $4,061.
I'll second.
Carrie,
Yes.
Cook,
Yes.
Powers,
Yes.
Colvin, yes, Schultz.
Yes.
All right, bye, Nick, go. No, just kidding.
Do you need lights?
This is the next item. Yeah, she thought she had it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next agenda item is 9E DDA Marketplace.
Nope, we gotta
Oh,
do
I'm sorry, the bid.
Oh, I missed it, sorry. Yeah, bid for the southeast.
Yeah, so this is, council approved this past week. But this was, the T-Mobile grant with the Consumers Energy Grant. This has always been the plan for the back of, that Victoria's area. But we have been waiting for Les Thomas to complete his two-tiered structure. So we feel like now we have all of our dates in a row. He's gonna be finished, and literally that next day, BSI is going to start. So this whole project is actually going to be concluded by November 15th. Finally.
Weather permitting.
Yes, weather permitting, okay. So the bid that Birmingham Seal Coat came back with was $93,290.50. So.
Slightly below the engineer's estimate.
Yeah, yep.
Bonus.
We don't have to make any decisions today, right? Unless this is already
I mean, I
Older
think we should
business.
have a recommendation. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I would, if we can.
a question, Grace?
Yeah, can you just remind us again what the projected budget was for this part of the project?
Sure, yeah. So we can walk through the budget numbers. I was gonna walk through them anyways when we got to the engineering part, but if you want, I can just walk through them now, and then you'll know once we get to the engineering part that it all works out. So we right now, out of our $300,000 with the combined grant, we have spent, let me look at my spreadsheet here. We have spent $165,500. So, originally we had the 50,000 T-Mobile grant, and then we knew that the project was gonna go above and beyond. So we wanted to save on a portion of the northeast part that we did so that we could move the money over. So I foresee then this one being about $175,000 total when we're all said and done. So 93,000 of that will be, all the flat work and drainage that we're talking about tonight. Next, we're gonna talk about the engineering portion of that, which is gonna be about $20,000. And then you have all the extras in there, from furniture to lighting to speakers to the archway to the murals. So that's where we're gonna end up at about 285, 290 total if everything goes well.
That includes the 165,000 we've already spent, that 285. Okay.
Yep.
Yep. Thank you.
Kelly, question, the arch that's supposed to go back there, or the gateway, I should say, where's the concrete money showing up for that?
The new one or the one that was at NAPS
The new
that's
one.
finished now?
The new one for this project?
Yep, so we have, if you approve the 93,000 plus the $20,000 for the engineering tonight, it puts us at $85,000 remaining. So the archway will come out of that, the lighting, the furniture, and then the murals.
So does BSI take care of pouring the concrete, because that's gonna be in the sidewalk and everything, or how's that gonna make it?
So they take care of that.
Okay.
That's our plan. It wasn't in the original bid,
Right.
but that's part of our pre-construction, and we're scheduled for
Wednesday.
Wednesday afternoon
Okay.
to have them do it. They had to coordinate the other way before because of the brickwork, but they still did the footings
That's right.
on the other arch.
So we are running it the same way as we did at NAPS, because what we did is Les Thomas's engineer stamped the approval for the arch and the way they were doing it. So we did it the same on both, so we didn't have to go back to the drawing board.
Okay.
So same size, everything.
Very good.
So I motion to approve the bid at, what was it, $93,290.50 with Birmingham Seal Coat.
I'll support.
You're not done.
Yes, Schultz.
Yes.
Powers.
Yes.
Carried.
Yes.
Cook.
Yes.
Okay, passes. Now the DDA Marketplace is the next agenda item.
Well, the engineering's after this. Can we,
Oh, he's gotta still go through that? Okay.
yeah, I think we added it as F, didn't we?
okay.
So do you want to do marketplace first?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yep. So the DDA Marketplace, I do have a spreadsheet on there for you to look at. This has been probably about a year in the making for our thoughts on this. And this all stemmed from I sat through a presentation about DDAs having more than one source of income. So trying to find other ways to build revenue besides their TIF plan. So obviously, we do a great job with sponsors and the vendor market that all build revenue in. But, as we're going into renewal and we think about, obviously, our district, hopefully, we're collecting additional, but we want to do as much as we can. So the marketplace was a thought from Rochester, and Christy has been their DDA director for almost 20 years. And so I really am trying to take kind of her lead off this, and she knows it. And the thought was to create our own kind of DDA brand and sell a handful of products within the village in kind of a DDA store. So the first year that Rochester did this, they made about $40,000. This past year, they made 6 figures on their DDA store. And it's just a product line of like 5 items, and they come out with like a spring line and summer, and then a Christmas line and DDA line. Yes, a little bit of it competes with some of the other stores, but they really try to find products that are not sold in other stores with their Love Local brand. So our thought on this was utilizing Lori from Gracefully Crafted by Lori, who's done our DDA shirts and our Scarecrow Fest shirts. And the thought on this, because it does take time and energy to post the products and make the products and price the products, and then also upload them to this new e-commerce platform that we have. So we worked with her to see what our wholesaling pricing would be. And because we're doing this locally, we wouldn't have to purchase a lot right off the bat. We would just start with a handful. And then she would come in and actually stock it, put it on her e-commerce platform, and she would do all of that knowing that she's the one providing the products. So we're not paying her anything additional. She's working, on her time, but we have the ownership of the designs. She wouldn't be selling them in other places. And these would be things, I had Nick design a couple of things for you guys to see. But one thing that I think we're missing in Oxford, and we went over this in org committee with Pete and Rod and Brad, is things that like a tourist would want to buy, like postcards, for example, that I don't really see. Or Vicki actually in the village office told me about a ornament that her hometown of Tennessee used to do, where each year they had a new ornament of one of the buildings with the date on it. And it was sold through their village or through their town. So when you'd come in to buy a DDA gift card, you could also pick up an ornament. So that's kind of the idea here, not to take any business away from the retailers that are already doing their own things, but kind of find our own identity of products that are more just Oxford. They're not Blue and Gold, they're not Wildcat, they're just Village of Oxford, DDA, very just kind of us, and find our own brand like Rochester did, and see if we can build an additional revenue stream. Can I show them those that you created? Can I pull it up on your laptop?
Yep. There's this file here, and if you click that, those are like.
Okay. So these are some of the ones that we kind of, they're more of just Oxford branded, and they don't have to be in the blue and gold. We would start with just a minimal amount of items. And then the nice thing is it's all local based. So if people did want a larger size or they needed double, it's something where she could produce them and we wouldn't have to purchase and put the money out for them in the beginning. So we would only need to start with a small budget to produce like one run. And I think Q4 is the best time to do it because we could do the ornaments and things. The other idea was, I don't know if you've ever seen the puzzles that you can create off a photo at like Walgreens, but that's something that's not in any of our stores downtown. So we would do like the downtown photo that we own, the rights to that we had Jody do that we paid for, and have that on, say, a puzzle, for example. But yeah, so the wholesale prices are on there. So my thought was, board committee liked it. You guys were in favor of it, but my thought was just to pitch it out to you guys and try it. You know, starting with maybe just like a $500 budget and seeing how it goes and see if people are interested, and then we can kind of go from there. My biggest question to Christy was obviously like, okay, what pushback did you get from the businesses? And she said, you know, you're always going to have some people that are naysayers, but she said after a month, she said, they knew like we weren't trying to recreate the products that they were creating. We were doing our own thing. We were doing our own brand. We were keeping it very DDA related.
Yes.
At what point would you have a legal agreement in place? And maybe I have a couple questions, so I'll just throw them out. So that's one. Two, why Lori? Why not someone else? How do we make that, I don't know the word I'm looking for, I'm gonna say equitable, I know that's not the right word, but, you know, yeah, competitive, thank you. And then, I like the idea of ornament for sure, and maybe we start with something, just the one thing. I still can't wrap my mind around like a government entity, because I'm just so a government entity being a business selling in the same space that the businesses we work for are doing. So like all the clothing, I feel like that's very done enough in Oxford. That's just my personal opinion. So it'll be hard not to compete with them on that. So I'm just giving you my mind train of thought.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I would think that an agreement would be simple, you know, maybe Bob could draft us something simple. The thought with Lori was local and also somebody who's willing to do kind of the management and the inventory for us using her, where I don't know if necessarily somebody else would not want a fee for that. And she is a huge volunteer. She sits on promo committee. So I like the fact that we've worked with her on multiple occasions, and I trust her, and I like the quality of her product. I do hear you with the t-shirts, and that is why I suggested more going towards something that like we're branding out. So whether it's like one slogan or it's something that, is exclusive to us rather than being something that, multiple stores are producing. I do think that we're missing something with what's selling in the community. Like there isn't something where you can go and grab postcards or a puzzle or an ornament. So I do think that I want it to be special to us, but Rochester does run it through the nonprofit, the Rochester nonprofit, and through Oakland County Main Street, we are able to do that without having to set up our own 501(c)(3). So if we do decide to do this, we can run everything through that. Main Street lets us use it. So we can split the funding that way if we wanted to do that. Rochester did that for the first 2 years. This past year, when they were making 6 figures, they did decide to set up their own. But I don't think that we need to necessarily start that way. Thank you.
Grace?
So I have 2 questions. One is now a follow-up to Kelsey's, because I think that same question about the bidding process has come up for me a couple of times in the past year. So just in general, what is our kind of DDA policy for competitive bids? Like, do we need to get 2 or 3 bids on a certain threshold of spending? Like, what does that look like? Because I've seen different approaches in different instances.
Agreed. And I think that we have always, people that we've worked with, we do tend to just go with them. I know that technically we don't have to go out to bid, but I know after talking with Joe in the village, on some of our larger spends, it is very important for us to do that. So that's why, you'll see BSI come up again today going through the bid process. I think that's something this small. I think that it's good that we've worked with them and I feel okay with that, but that is also a decision up to you guys. If you wanted to go through the bid process, then I'm absolutely happy to do that. I think with the bid process with products like this, it would be difficult because I do know that if we were having something that somebody was just outsourcing and the quality in the products, we could get somebody who's a lot less expensive, but then does all of the day-to-day tasks of managing it and uploading it fall on Kimberly and I, which we don't feel great about doing at this point in time with what we have.
Yeah. A component of that question too, if we were to go through, like, would we be setting up a 501(c)(3) or is it a pre-existing one through Main Street?
Yeah, it's pre-existing through Main Street, and all of our grants that we receive from Main Street all come through the Rochester, and I'm going to say it wrong, Rochester Community Foundation.
Thank you. And my unrelated question is, you had mentioned selling things on e-commerce, but what was the plan to maybe sell some of these products in person, like at, our Christmas market or Scarecrow Fest? Like, would that be stuff we would have at our information table?
Yeah, so that would be the plan, is to be able to sell at our own markets that we're currently running if we have the manpower to do so. A lot of times Kimberly and I are pulled in 2 different directions. But, if we had the ability to do it, it would be nice. There are so many people who come in to purchase gift cards in person all throughout the year, but going up to Q4, it's just incredible how many people walk through the door. So our thought was purchasing something like this at the same time that they're already coming in. And a lot of people, they are coming in to pay their water bills and then they're purchasing, right there. So I would say that only 20% of our gift cards are purchased online and then 80% are at the village offices.
I have a question. So the way that this works is that would there be any money outlay from us initially to Lori, or are we going to have her run the show and then we split the profits?
Yep, so that was, my thought would be like a $500 spend to just get up and running and purchase some products. But the nice thing is that because she is local, we don't have to purchase every size and every item. We can pick a couple and just go with it and then kind of put the money back in and then buy additional products from there. We don't need to take this into like a couple $1,000 investment. which some of the other wholesale companies that we looked at when we looked to outsource it, there's so much that you have to purchase to even be able to buy,
As
like at a
inventory,
wholesale
as
price.
inventory.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the second question is, do you know if Rochester brands their merchandise as the DDA, like Rochester DDA, or is it more just downtown Oxford?
They do Rochester in general. They started with what was called the Love Local brand, which was everything was Love Local. And then they launched in the summer their Smile brand. And so now they have, Christmas is better in Rochester. And then they have the words that they have a couple of the different restaurants. It starts with Red Naps and then Downtown Lights. And so they have the wording. So they've had quite a few runs at this now, but the Love Local brand is where they started.
Is there any action we need to take as a board tonight, or this is strictly informational?
It would just be if this is something that you want to do to see if we can turn a profit off of it, if we want to get them uploaded. I think it's important to do it now in time for fourth quarter. But if it's not something that we want to take on and we want to continue to talk about it, then that's okay too. I just feel like if we're going to do it for fourth quarter, we have to make a decision tonight.
Do we want to just have comments?
And I like the idea of
Sounds
ornament.
good.
I do like the idea of ornament. I think people would buy
Mhm.
that. Certainly for the holidays, so.
Yes.
Is it downtownrochestermi.com? Like, I'm trying to find it on.
Do you want to see their store?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I'm looking for.
Yep,
just
no,
to-
you're okay. Here, let me just pull it up for you. If you just Google Love Local Rochester.
Yep.
Let me show you. The other thought too was we've been asked for branded shirts for events now that people are starting to come back to events and things like that. So with Witches Night coming up, for example, Witches Night would be something that would be fun to sell within.
Mhm.
So this is on Rochester's site. And so this is their logo. And then they have the tote bags.
It's like
Love
downtown
Local Rochester. They have candles. This is the one that I was talking about with naps.
Gotcha. Okay.
My opinion is starting with something simple like an ornament that definitely doesn't compete with the other businesses is where we should start. I think it gets a little touchy when you get into the apparel and,
Yeah,
but maybe coffee mugs and,
Yeah, and we could do that where we're not selling t-shirts or anything. We could do coffee mugs, ornaments, puzzles, what else do you have on there? Keychains, stickers, stuff that's more like small where somebody would want to pick that up with a gift card. If we think that that would go over better. I mean, I knew that we would get a portion of pushback, but we're also, Rochester I bring up because, they're doing it and they're doing it very well. But almost every single DDA has branded merch, whether it be for their events or just downtown merch. I mean, even Ortonville, for example, they're selling, their Witches Night t-shirts and things at their DDA. So we are not the first by any means to take this on. There are many before us.
yes.
I guess my only hesitation is just using, and I think, nothing against Lori, I think she's a wonderful human being, and I thank her for all of everything she's done for our community. I just don't, my only hesitation is just picking one person and being like, we're gonna split this with you, or however it works, until the way my brain thinks, I need to see it on paper, like a business arrangement would be. I think I'd feel more comfortable if we just handled it and produced an ornament for the holiday season, if that was something we could do. So are you saying we need someone else, we need a Lori basically in order to make this happen?
So the whole idea behind having Lori was the fact that, instead of going to a third party company that we don't know and just ordering offline, like an imprint, for example, where we purchased our DDA ornaments from last year. It's just a company that they're sourcing overseas and then bringing them in. But then everything falls on us to keep the stocking, put it online. That's all on us. We could just purchase one off from her and not have an agreement, because we've done that before with things that we've needed, where we've just done a purchase order with her and paid her. So we could always do that and see how it goes, and then maybe perhaps set up a formal agreement later after we see, are the products selling? How is this going? So I'm totally comfortable starting that way too. And then we can kind of go from there. I just wanted to try to keep as much as I could local rather than, purchasing from one of the larger corporations.
Does she do ornaments?
She does.
Okay.
Yep.
How does she do them locally?
So she's hand doing all of them, like hand printing at home. They have the machinery at their home.
Okay. I guess I don't know much about her background, so.
Yeah.
um,
So she runs a business. It's an LLC. She's established. It's not just mom and pop shop. She runs everything out of her home, has been in business for a long time, has a good record in town, but she's producing and shipping quite a bit. Yeah, it's quite she has like 1,800 square feet set up is what I hear, just for her production facility.
Thank you.
Just to add on to that a little bit, I think as we get more involved with more merch, we're definitely going to need, I think, a formal bidding process and a legal document that kind of outlines how each of us contributes and gets paid and so forth. And I certainly wouldn't want any backlash from the community that, oh, how did you pick this person and not me? So I think that's a step we need to take.
Do we want to table this for now then?
I don't know, the ornament doesn't bother me for some reason, but but I don't know if that makes sense to just single out one item and not do anything with it as far as the legal process and that reason.
I'm wondering too, because we were looking at the one from Rochester, and a lot of the merch that they have, which I know is not what you have here, is stuff that we have currently in like Modern Marketplace. Specifically, I'm thinking there's a vendor in there that does like pillows and bags with our Oxford zip code on them, and they have some like Oxford local tote bags that I've seen for sale there and stuff too. So I'm wondering if there's also opportunity to contact some of these vendors and maybe have them participate in providing the merch, which would maybe be more of a marketplace.
That's why I was asking if we
Yeah.
were going to brand this as a DDA item, because that kind
Yeah.
of separates you more, as opposed to just saying Oxford on it, because then I think you're getting into other people's wares. Maybe we need to table it for a while.
Okay.
I think there's too many,
Unanswered questions.
yeah. Okay, agenda item 10, items moved for the consent agenda. Oh, we have
Yeah.
the engineering, sorry, Joe. I keep trying to either put you in early or just,
Take you
or take you out.
So the engineering part is for the 9D that you guys approved today.
Right.
So hopefully it will not come in this high, but I think it is needed. So Joe and I kind of went round and round today, whether we needed Roe to be on site or not for the project. But at the end of the day, we crunched the numbers, we have it in the budget. So I think it's probably the smartest is to have them on site. But hopefully the 130 hours, is that it, that they?
116.
116 that they bid. I'm hoping that it will not take that long, so this number will come down. But in the meantime, $19,750 to have Rowe Engineering on this project is what we're looking at.
And so to touch base on that, and that's why I provided you the two public blueprints. This is much, I would say, much more difficult with the changing of the elevations and all the infrastructure that is going to be tied into underground than the northeast part between the schools and behind Red Naps. We didn't get into changing any of those. The one sheet, giving you sheet C7, he's on the bottom right, and that just shows the drain structure. But then if you look at C8, well, it's much more busy. you'll see kind of while going through the area, there's kind of like a center section. We're trying to maintain ADA compliance through that area too, right? With a lot of undulating and changing surface area. So a lot of engineering going into that layout to try to get the water to flow where we need it to flow, and to also have the proper minimal slopings for the ADA compliance. So that's why it's not just rip out concrete and pour it down, right? There's a lot to go in there. And then multiple downspouts from the businesses from 2 South, which is the northern building, all the way down through the party shop. Those are gonna be tied in to go underground piping to tie into new drain structures underneath the sidewalk. As a matter of fact, we have a fairly good idea where the drain pipe is already stubbed in from the southwest parking lot, or southeast parking lot, where they did it years ago, 20-some years ago. There's a storm drain stubbed underneath the curb area, coming just barely into the sidewalk area. Just back and forth with emails this afternoon, probably about 6 o'clock, back and forth with Paul and then Glenn, who's the superintendent for BSI. We're gonna need to go out there and open up that concrete near where this water connection drain, storm drain outlet connection is going to be, because we don't have exact elevation on it. We don't have an exact location on it. So we're gonna need to go out there, take up some of the concrete, do a dig, find out, because they have to order these precast drain structures sit in the ground with the holes pre-drilled in them. So our hope is have a conversation on Wednesday about the pre-construction meeting, go out and look at the area. We have to get NISTIG notified and do an excavation out there to nail down exactly where that pipe leaves the concrete walk area into the parking lot. And then get the drain structure ordered with the exact height and dimensions and outlet holes in the right place. So there's a lot to go on there. This isn't something that, you know, we could just say, yeah, go ahead and knock this out, BSI, and we don't need somebody on site. There's gonna be a lot. And about 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, Comcast came to town, and there was various locations running cable to various businesses. They did it in just about each quad. When they were coming across from the island out in that parking lot, come underneath and feeding up to like the party shop in Rob's place there, where Canales Agency is now, underneath the sidewalk, we tore out there just the path in there to run the cables. We found an underground sanitary sewer structure that these 2 or 3 businesses were feeding into, and then had an outlet going out. It was not on the prints. Don Brandon, who's been here 32 years, didn't know it was there. It was completely cemented over. But there was a manhole drain structure with sanitary sewer lines coming into it that we found just by running that small stretch to there for the Comcast cable. So Lord only knows what else we're gonna find out there, and what effect that will have on the project as far as, oops, now we have to move the drain structure over, oops, now this whole elevations and these slopes, these proper drainage. You need someone on site to make those decisions, to notify us, that we can all make a smart decision on that, to keep it going, because again, it's not June, we don't have a ton of great weather, we have to get it done quickly and stuff. And so, yeah, do we want to spend $19,000? No, but if we don't, you know, there's a lot that could go wrong. We need somebody out there with that experience and expertise to do that.
So bad news, I guess, right? Bad news, good news?
But it pays off in the long run.
Yeah.
Do you need a motion for that
Yeah.
one? Okay.
Got a question?
Make a motion to award contract to Grow Engineering for construction staking, construction administration, and observation in the amount of $19,750.
Support.
Schultz,
Yes.
Powers,
Yes.
Colvin, yes, Carrie,
Yes.
Cook.
Yes.
That's great. Now we're at agenda item 10. I don't believe we had any items moved from the consent agenda.
Nope.
So board member comments, please. How about you, Pete?
Again, great job on the Scarecrow Festival. I think it was phenomenal for the entire community. Everybody had a good time. It was a fun day. I enjoyed myself that day, had a good time and everything.
Thank you for your
And it was nice to be
volunteering.
able to walk around in the social district and enjoy
Yep.
that. It's the first time I've ever had a chance to do that, so I enjoyed doing that. And again, the northeast parking lot turned out really, really well. So again, everybody pat yourselves on the back, because it was a project that we undertook that was well, long time in coming and needed and turned out really well, and looking forward to this next one. So with the holidays and everything coming up, should be a good time.
Oh, yeah, great work. I'm excited to see what the holidays bring, so.
Excited for Witches Night Out, and hopefully good weather. And being a business that was in the affected area of the northeast parking lot, the engineering team was great to work with. They kept us updated and answered any questions we had. And it was a positive experience.
The village council did approve the crosswalks. We're gonna try to get a BSI in right after they're done, working for the DDA, to get those crosswalks in, and it's not in the district, but I do think it'll help, especially the one across Burdick, with walkability of our community, to get people safely to downtown. The rental inspection ordinance failed, to pass, and then the food truck ordinance, which mostly, revolves around just inspection of them to make sure they're safe, but also a little bit to do with the village special event implication if they're on village property and how we're regulating them. We adjourned that another meeting to add in some language to address excess noise from generators or exhaust, and if there's a way to position trucks so that they cause the least disturbance to local businesses. That's the type of language we're gonna try to craft and put in there. So I think that will be helpful to the district as well. The only thing I wanted to mention is just exceptional work, Kelly, as always. You give the board a lot of credit, which they deserve, but nothing you have ever done has let us down, and everything in the community, it really comes through because of all the work that you do, so I just want to say thank you.
I second that. Grace?
Yeah, just echoing kind of everyone else's comments on what an amazing turnout we had for Scarecrow Fest. This was definitely, I think, the largest one I've experienced at least, and this kind of marked my first full year with DDA. My first event was the Scarecrow Fest last year, so it was really great, and just some kind of anecdotal evidence of our attendance this year. Angie from Evergreen, she and I were sitting up giving out candy, and we counted how much we gave out, and I had over 450 children come by, so definitely up from last year.
Yeah.
You were saying, have 100 pieces of candy.
Yeah. I'm like, let's just get you all started.
So, great turnout this year.
Thank you. Any public comments, extended public comments? Okay. It is 8:13, meeting adjourned.
Pete, go.
Yeah, sorry.
Football son, go.